Welcome to the City of Plano's virtual WaterWise landscape tour, presented by Live Green in Plano with your guide, Albert. Today, we're showcasing Ben and Tonya Durkin's beautiful, sustainable landscape. Back in Portland, their yard featured many edible plants. Ben and Tonya sought to recreate that when they arrived in Plano, but with a WaterWise twist. We're so glad that they chose Plano and that they were willing to share their story. Before we take our tour though, let's get oriented. Located in central Plano, the front of their home faces north. Most of their front yard receives sun, aside from one corner that lies underneath a gorgeous mature crepe myrtle. Most of their backyard receives sun as well, and they have a fabulous pool and patio. While Ben and Tonya plan to complete projects in both side yards in the future, our tour focuses on their front yard and the backyard. Let's meet the homeowners, shall we?
Hi, I'm Tonya Durkin.
Hi, I'm Ben Durkin too.
So what brought y'all to Plano?
Friends of mine live down here in Plano. They work for a studio called id Software, and they said they had the perfect job for me. So we came down for an interview, took a look around Plano and Richardson area, and really liked it, and moved down. The first year we were on 18th Street and H, closer to downtown.
Closer to downtown, the old downtown Plano.
Yeah, and we were looking for a house. We wanted to make sure we found something in an area that we really liked. Running trails or biking trails are really important to us. And
no HOAs.
No HOAs, yes, because we like to do things our way. And the Chisholm Trail was really close to this house, and we just fell in love with the place.
After nearly 3 years, they've done an amazing job of bringing their vision to life by hand, all while learning about landscaping in partnership with Mother Nature, North Texas style. So what inspired their no-mow transition?
So as Ben had said, we moved down from Portland, and our yard up there, we had a more edible yard, and we were looking to see how can we transform our yard to have a bit more of edible food, as well as just a WaterWise landscape. And it was really through last fall when Plano, the city of Plano, put on their WaterWise landscape seminars and tour that really gave us the confidence to ask the questions, understand and learn more about like drip irrigation, for example, but also what is possible, and seeing the yards that have transformed into a WaterWise landscape really gave us the confidence that we could do it ourselves. And we are do-it-yourselfers, so we just decided to, it was a slow process because we do it ourselves, and we are pretty busy with our work, but
yeah, I agree. Like, the confidence is the one thing, because if you drive down our street, nobody has anything like this, and it is a little nerve-wracking to stick out that much. I mean, we wanted to have a more edible front yard because we don't have a backyard. We have a pool back here, so we didn't have that option, and we really liked the idea of having blueberries and apples and all these other things, but we didn't see that in the neighborhood at the time. We were really thankful that Plano put on the WaterWise landscape so that we could go and see. They do exist, these places that have what we have. It's just they're kind of far and few in between right now. But after we had the addresses, when we drove around, you find out that there's like 15, 20 places, and then you even find more places on the way to see those places. And so we realized it'll be okay. We'll be able to convert this, and maybe it'll be a new thing that people like, and they'll be interested in doing it too. Because we both used to fight about who was going to mow the grass. So now we don't have to do that anymore.
Now we don't have to do that anymore.
No turf means less irrigation and more time to enjoy those WaterWise plants and the wildlife that they attract. But getting here took time. Let's learn more about how the plan for Ben and Tonya's front yard came to life.
So my folks were down this spring, and I took the survey for the house, and I gave everybody colored pencils, and I said, all right, draw your dream yard.
Draw what you think.
Yeah, and so we basically went off of those sketches. We wanted to have walkways and other things through the yard, and then it kind of just grew into what it was with having the river rock and the the crushed granite towards the front of the house, and then a couple planter beds, and then the river rock, separating those two things, and then having mulch in the front with the plants. And we walked around a couple of other places and realized we didn't really need to have walking paths, and it kind of limited us as well with where we could plant things, and we didn't know how big things were going to get either.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see the pictures there, we got some of those little plants, and they were tiny, and now they're just gigantic. They're over 4 feet in diameter, and so
they all started about the size of the lavender that we have out there that hasn't really taken off, but that Mexican sage has just exploded.
Yeah, so I'm kind of glad that we didn't have walkways, because I think that we would have been a little limited in that respect. And then we started pricing things out and looked for landscapers. We got a couple bids because we wanted professional input too. We weren't necessarily sure that we were going to do it the right way, but it was going to cost a couple grand just for the design of the yard. And at that point in time, we realized, well, we can either pay somebody to design the yard for us, with us telling them kind of what our vision is and hoping that they get it right, or we just take that money and just buy a bunch of rock and
do it
ourselves. And hope that we get it right.
Yeah.
And then if we don't get it right, it's like, well, you just spend a couple extra $100 or whatever it is to make the little fixes. I think we've done enough. Like in Portland, we realized it's not something that you're gonna get right the first time. So we were comfortable enough after we realized, okay, it's okay to do a WaterWise landscape in Plano. We were comfortable enough knowing, well, it'll take a year or two, or maybe even 4 or 5 to get stuff to where it's really established and kind of how our vision was, and that's okay.
One of the features that we love about their vision is how it includes vibrant art pieces that complement their plants and bring even more color and movement into the yard. But of course, the plants are the true stars. Love those succulent vibes? The agave is a great choice for full sun. Extremely drought tolerant, this evergreen perennial may have sharp spines, but its rare blooms are a sight to see. Hot Lips Salvia also stuns in a rock garden that receives full sun to partial shade. You'll love the bright red and white. And for a shrubby border plant or a mass full sun planting, Mexican bush sage is a great go-to. Just look at those arching spikes of purple and white fall flowers. Pollinators are wild about this plant. Let's hear some of Tonya's favorites.
So some of my favorite plants currently are the Mexican sagebush. They've just exploded, and I love purple. That's the purple hair. Also the pomegranates. Even though we haven't eaten any of the fruit yet, we do have quite a few pomegranates coming off of that. So really
very excited about
very excited about that. And I'd also say right now our roses that are coming in, because we wanted to create a quasi-privacy hedge, so because we are going to have a sitting area eventually, and those are coming in really nicely as well.
Yep.
When it's complete, the coolest part about that new sitting area will be another art piece, a mosaic Texas star that Ben's designing to serve as a one-of-a-kind platform. So what else are they planning?
So for the future, we have we have 2 raised beds out there that we use right now for garlic and onions and spinach and kale. And it was suggested to us by WaterWise landscape people that we should put our blueberry in a raised bed, and that way we can amend the soil a little bit better, and it might do a little better than what it's doing right now. It has leaves and it's doing okay, and we get some small blueberries on there. But so we're going to put that in a raised bed, and we might even do a goji berry in a raised bed as well. And that would and the other nice thing about that is it elevates the landscape a little bit, and just has it on different levels, which is super cool as well. We're going to lay some cobblestones out in the front of the house.
Cobblestones and
cover
a mosaic.
In a mosaic, and cover up some of the gravel that's on the front of the house.
We want to get a few more larger Colorado River rock, but we kind of ran out of money this year with all of the expense that we've implemented. So yeah, there's still a few things that we want to, and replace some of the plants that we lost as well.
And then we're probably also going to, this kind of leads into how we amend our soil. We're also going to take and put a composting area on the side of the house. It gets a lot of sun, so it should be good for that.
So we're composting now by means of a electrical compost.
Yep. I don't have that information exactly, the type of composter it is. We bought it on Amazon. We've been using it for about 3 years now. We love it. It cut our trash. We eat a lot of vegetables anyway, so it cut our trash in about half, I would say, almost. The stuff that that goes to the landfill.
And it dries it, so it
comes out dry. You can pick it up in your hand. And what we do is we mix that. I think there are some pictures of that too. We mix that with sawdust or leaves and some other dirt, some other things, from just stuff laying around the place.
Yeah.
And then we'll just let that sit for a year, and then we'll amend the soil for all the plants at the beginning of the season. And that's worked out really well. And my folks came out and used it and liked it so much that they went out and bought one.
It's pretty amazing how technology can help us turn food waste into garden gold. The backyard is the place to entertain. The structure over the pool supports shade sails during the heat of the summer, reducing evaporation. You'll find more art pieces and primarily evergreen plants in the backyard. Ben and Tonya love to travel, so keeping it low maintenance is important. That convenience extends to their irrigation.
So for the irrigation, one of the things that we needed to have, because I didn't want to have to go out there and fiddle with it all the time, we bought a controller, and it's Wi-Fi compatible, and they have an app for our smartphones. So now Tonya and I can go whenever we need to. If the plants look like they're a little dry or something like that, we can just go and turn on a watering cycle right on the smartphone. So that's been pretty.
And it actually connects to the weather app somehow, because if it's forecasted to rain in Plano, then it's not going to turn on if we have it scheduled to turn on that day, it's not going to turn on. So it's a smart watering system.
And they advertise those all over Amazon. That's worked out really well for us. I was a little skeptical at first, but that system has worked as well.
They also use drip irrigation to deliver water efficiently. Smart watering practices make life easier, especially on the go, but Ben and Tonya wanted to share their lessons learned throughout the process.
Yeah, so talking about cost involved, it was really, I think one of the most difficult parts for us in this project was getting rid of soil. That's one of the toughest things to do around here, because the trash won't take it.
Compost won't take it.
Landscaping companies won't take it. So we had to get a dumpster. And then even in Plano, the one problem that we did have is not everybody will bring a dumpster into the city of Plano. There's some kind of ordinance that says it has to be a particular type of dumpster. And we really lucked out that the company was like, okay, if we put it in your driveway, you can have it, but it cannot be on the street unless it's a city of Plano dumpster. So that's the one thing I would tell people to definitely research before you buy a dumpster or rent a dumpster. Right. And that was by far the most challenging part of getting of changing the landscape out there, because you can get rock delivered and mulch delivered and they just dump it in the street, but getting rid of topsoil is a definite problem. And another thing, we had a couple of ordinance violations because we had piles of soil and piles of debris laying around the yard, and because it's challenging to get rid of, you want to kind of let it sit there for a while until you get it all done. And so, but if you let it sit there, then the city comes and visits you, and you have
that was one thing that we learned of or thought of is next time, just informing your neighbors, your neighborhood, what's happening, because they can't see your vision. And it is especially if you're doing it yourself, that it's not going to be an overnight or even in a week kind of thing. It's taking us a couple of years, and we're still not finished. So just letting your neighborhood know what you're doing, will help alleviate maybe some of those problems that we had run into.
We admire Ben and Tonya's hard work, and we're thrilled to hear that they're meeting neighbors who want to learn more.
So for me, there's a couple of, I would say, two big things on the reward side. Not only does it make me happy when I'm coming down the street because it's the only one in the neighborhood that has so much pop of color, but the neighbors walking around, they compliment us on our yard, and some of them even say that it's a highlight of their walk, which just really is appreciative, because again, we had some challenges with some neighbors in the neighborhood, turning us into the city of Plano. So that really is rewarding. And then also the produce that is starting to come in. We have some pomegranates that haven't had yet, but those are coming in, and the kale has been going spectacular. So it's really fun to see the food coming in as well.
And it's nice to bring joy. I mean, that's you kind of hinted on that a little bit, but
We need
it's
more
nice
of it
enough,
in life.
right? Yeah, it's nice enough to be going on a walk, but then also to have being able to go on a walk and to have, wow, this is the highlight of my walk. I love coming by this place. It's really heartwarming, and we didn't expect that at all.
We did not
Actually, that
expect
wasn't one
that.
of the things. It was an unplanned, happy little accident for us.
Yes.
That we've met a lot of neighbors because we're out working in the front yard, and people will stop and talk to you. Not direct neighbors, but maybe 3 or 4 blocks away, and they're like, "Hey, we see you out here working all the time. What are you doing? And who did you talk to? Where'd you come up with the idea?" And then we get to share information about the WaterWise landscape and that whole group.
And meet more neighbors in the
and
neighborhood.
we meet more neighbors at the same time, so it's great. And the kids love stopping and all the lawn art and different things that we have hanging out there. So it's just, it's been really nice. It reminds us of Europe a little bit,
Yes.
too. And we lived there for a while and really enjoyed that kind of lifestyle and how families are out and about.
And we're grateful to be able to share that joy beyond their neighborhood and with the rest of Plano. We'd like to sincerely thank Ben and Tonya for sharing their yard and you, our viewers, for following along. We've referenced many plants and resources throughout our tour, and we invite you to learn more. Visit plano.gov/landscape tour for a corresponding plant list specifically for the Durkin's yard. Visit plano.gov/seed programs and click Learn Online to watch our recorded webinars. From your friends at Live Green in Plano, thank you for viewing the virtual WaterWise Landscape Tour.